Hey guys, Lisa Salvatore here. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you celebrated, spending time with your loved ones, or doing whatever it is that you could do to keep yourself in a good space. Sorry about the lighting. I wasn't planning on doing this video because I've already done a video for Sagittarius season, and as we move towards the Lunar Eclipse Full Moon on the 30th coming up. But anyway, I just felt like I'm getting ready to do a Zoom party online for some clients. So before that, I was just doing some meditation, and I was being guided to come back on here and just say a few things about the current energy as we lead up towards this lunar eclipse in Gemini on Monday, November the 30th on the East Coast. It's at 4:39 in the morning AM Eastern Standard Time, and it will be visible where I am. So a couple of things that I felt were important to talk about because we're under tremendous energy surges right now, guys. We're experiencing solar flares. Those do produce physical symptoms in the body. Emotional, yes, very much so. Spiritually, emotionally, physically, we feel this energy. It's very strong, it's very potent. And as we're leading up towards this lunar eclipse full moon, it's not just any full moon, it's a lunar eclipse full moon. And it's the first of two that are going to close out the year. Eclipses typically come in twos, sometimes threes, depending on the cycle. This one is two. And it's super important because Neptune is going to station direct tomorrow, November 28th. Neptune will station direct in Pisces. Neptune has been retrograde since June, and normally, Neptune retrograde, it's for quite some time throughout the year, typically. But the reason why this one is so much more potent and impactful is because Neptune is currently in its home sign of Pisces and will be in Pisces until 2026. But it's in its home sign of Pisces, and it's playing a huge role in this eclipse that's coming up because Neptune's actually squaring the nodes, okay, of the eclipse. So it's squaring Gemini and it's squaring Sagittarius. So the sun is in Sagittarius, Neptune is squaring the sun, and the moon is in Gemini, and Neptune will be squaring the moon, is already beginning as we go through the weekend. We also have a Venus-Uranus opposition, Venus being in Scorpio, Uranus being in Taurus. And so those are two energies that also want what they want. They're fixed. They want what they want. They get rooted to their positions. They don't necessarily budge unless they feel really strong pushes and urges to do so. And under this energy, the reason why this is so heightened is because Neptune stationing direct is like, when you think about what Neptune rules over boundaries, Neptune rules over illusion and delusion. It has a light side and a shadow side, just like everything else. And just like an eclipse is light and dark. The technical meaning of an eclipse is that the Earth's shadow literally blocks out the sunlight, and, the moon basically covers the Earth. So it's like, again, darkness and lightness. We can't have light without the dark, and vice versa. And speaking of which, with Neptune being so, having been retrograde the past 6 months, there are ways in which we've been deluded. There are things that we've seen through rose-colored glasses because that's what Neptune rules over. And sometimes Neptune can be beautiful, and you need Neptune. We need Neptune because without Neptune, we won't glamorize or gloss over or make things nicer or wrap them up in a pretty package, and we won't necessarily see the beauty for what it is. But the shadow side of Neptune is that we can over-glamorize and over-glorify and gloss over and even become delusioned and paralyzed and paranoid under Neptunian energy. Neptune is like a fog, okay? And like I always say, with Neptune, it's like landing an airplane in the fog, because literally the pilot can see, the people on the tarmac that have the flags waving that, or whatever way that works with landing an airplane. There are ways in which they can see if they're actually going to have most likely have a successful landing. And as they get closer to the ground, clearly sometimes they have to abort the landing because the fog is just not parting enough for them to be able to land that airplane. So Neptune transits, Neptunian energy is very much like landing that airplane. You might land the airplane, but, are you going to skid off the runway? Are you going to be able to land without any damage? Are you going to have to abort the mission? So then, again, it's like Neptunian fog, okay? Now, I myself happen to be, I'm not I'm not a Pisces rising, so Neptune does not rule my chart. But however, I have a lot of Neptunian placements and Pisces going on. So I'm not a stranger to the Neptunian energy. And I have done many, many years of hard work and self-reflection and therapy to sort out the wheat from the chaff in my own life, okay? Because I have an ability to tend to see people for more than what they are, okay? And situations, I should say, not just people. But I instantly go to the positive, and I tend to want to stay there. And even sometimes when things are being shown to me, clear as day, the Neptunian fog can take over sometimes, and it may take me a while before I see things for the way that they truly are. And so right now, with Neptune stationing direct, right at the heels of this eclipse, it's like a veil gets lifted, the veils get parted, we see things more clearly, we could have revelations, and epiphanies, like these aha moments, or where we've been stuck, all of a sudden we're seeing it more clearly, we're getting that eureka moment, and going towards this eclipse, it's going to be amplified because it's a North Node eclipse, okay? North Node is the karmic path we are supposed to go on, okay? The South Node, which is where the solar eclipse will be, and that is in December 14th, and I'll do a video for that separate, because that's also a very powerful and strong energy within its own right. But North and South Nodes are okay, so when you have a North Node eclipse, that's the karmic future. That's where you're going to grow, okay? And it could produce some really positive pathways and trajectories, but they could come at a price, right? There could be great changes that have to happen in order to go on that path of the karmic calling and go on that path that the soul is pulling you towards, right? That is the karma of the North Node, and this is an eclipse in the North Node. So collectively, everyone is feeling this in some area of life or in areas of life where it's like this get real moment, and especially with Neptune stationing direct, it's like you may get that information you need, you may have the mindset switch, you may have the epiphany, you may have just, finally it's like seeing things for what they really are, no matter for better or worse, for light or for dark, for shadow, we see it. And with the eclipse, you may get this wonderful opportunity to be able to move something forward in your life, okay? It might not feel the most comfortable because the South Node is usually where we're comfortable, but that's what we're supposed to release, right? And this is a full moon, it's a North Node eclipse, and this is what we're supposed to move towards. So we're supposed to release what isn't working so that we can move towards the karmic path of the soul, move towards the soul growth. Now, speaking of soul, Neptune is a very, very spiritual sign, okay? It's very, very psychic. It speaks in subconscious tones, okay? It's not always about what you can see, it's about what you feel. And there is just this layer of, because of the fact that this eclipse is in Gemini is information and communication, okay? Neptune is spirituality. It's the God mind. It's inside, okay? It's what we know to be truth. It's the soul. And Neptune also rules over the media. So let's just be mindful of what we're watching, what we're believing, what we're seeing. This again may come a point where you're all of a sudden like, ooh, I was on that track, and now Neptune has stationed direct, and all of a sudden you're seeing things clearly. Now, for the average non-astrology person, let's just say, you may not equate that with Neptune. You're not going to sit there and say, I'm changing my position on the current politics of the world. Oh, it's because Neptune's stationed direct. You're likely not going to say that or even be aware of that, but that is what is instigating these changes, okay? I'm not saying that the planets are responsible for everything, because that would just be, they're not, but they are very influential and impactful, and they speak to us all the time through what goes on the world stage. And also, more importantly, like I always say, it's about what's going on personally. So Neptune direct and this eclipse are trying to get you in tune with your truth, your spiritual truth, okay? And being spiritual is not about following specific practices or feeling like you have to. It's not. It's like if you love crystals and you want to work with crystals, work with crystals. You don't have to work with crystals, right? If you want to do a full moon or a new moon ritual because you want to do it, go ahead and do it. But don't just do it because you feel like you have to do it to be spiritual or, to have intuition or to be psychic. Being spiritual is about being true to your spirit, and that is it. That is what being spiritual is. And this is what Neptune tries to show us and to teach us, because we need to go within and we need to trust here before we trust what's out there, okay? There's so much going on right now. There's a literal, look at eclipses again. I'm going to say how symbolic they are on the spiritual level, because it is about light versus dark. And we are seeing that playing out on the world scale right now, light versus dark, and you're probably seeing it in your own personal life, okay? The more you try to pull yourself up and the more you try to grow, you may feel that there are people or situations in your life that are like trying to keep you down. And that's okay. You just have to vibrate higher. That's also Neptune, okay? Getting in touch with your truth, keeping yourself up, whatever way that needs to happen for you, for your soul growth, is what you need to do. Super important right now, taking care of the physical body. I keep saying it, but we're under some really powerful energies right now. And you want to make sure you're taking care of your body. Speaking of which, Neptune also rules over vices. So it's also the sign that is about escapism. And what happens when people drink too much or they numb out with drugs, they're escaping, okay? So there could be a lot of that going on right now. And also, people are feeling desperate, some. With Neptune, the shadow side is that if there's any kind of mental illness that has not been addressed or dealt with under Neptune, under energy like this with Neptune stationing direct, we could see an increase in that. And so if you know of anyone, or if it's yourself, that are going through a really hard time, mentally, emotionally, just know that this may not feel great, okay? But on the positive side, if you are being honest with yourself and true to yourself and looking for ways to make this better or make that better, you will, because this eclipse does serve, even though it's a full moon, and full moons are about release, okay? It's a North Node eclipse, so it's about the future, it's about growth and change. And getting to the growth and change is not always comfortable, right? But it is what is going to set you free in whatever way you need to be set free, okay? Now, what else did I want to mention? I think that might be it. I mean, I personally don't work with eclipse energy for rituals. Because I feel like the energy is really, really wonky, and it's really, it's like a wild card. Because eclipses are responsible for openings and closings, entrances and exits, change, winds of change. And you might just want to surrender right now and do your soul work and take care of yourself. And as you do that, see where the winds take you, see what comes up for you. Maybe nothing does. Maybe just it's the thought process that's changing, right? Oh, and also with Neptune, dreams are, I said this in my last video, dreams are insane, intense, vivid, lucid. Now, you could have nightmares, which could be reflective of something you're afraid of in your waking life. So don't think if you have a really vivid bad dream or nightmare that means that that's going to happen or something bad is going to happen. It's likely just your psyche and your soul and the subconscious trying to work through it, okay? The other thing is you could literally get psychic visions and impressions through your dreams. This is also Neptune. Psychologically, you could get some really juicy nuggets in there. I know I was working with a client. I do clearings on, with her once every other week, and we do a reading, and we talked after the last one. She had reached out to me to tell me she had a very, very vivid visitation dream with a friend who was alive, who she hadn't spoken with in years. And it was like our session unlocked the feelings that she had around this friendship not being in her life any longer, even though we didn't necessarily even talk about that. In the dream, she was able to actually speak to this person and express how she felt about the ending of the friendship. Even though this happened in her dream state, she was able to move forward and leave something behind, okay? So this is Neptune. This is happening for all of us right now. So pay really close attention to the dreams. And that's what Neptune rules over as well. All right. The North Node also challenges us to think differently, okay? It challenges us to do things differently, and it could create opportunities to do those things. But again, there's this level of, it's so different than what we're used to, okay? So that could feel, again, scary and hard, because that's what change is. But without change, there's no growth. Okay, let's get a card for this eclipse. Ironic. This is from my Moonology. This is not tarot. This is from my Moonology deck. And it's the South Node card that says, don't let your past hold you back. And that's really interesting because, like I said, the solar eclipse coming up on December 14th is actually the new moon eclipse. And new moons are usually about bringing in, right, and manifestation. And the south node represents letting go, whereas the north node is about increase, and full moons are about letting go. So you see how this is working is it's sort of like it is going to feel challenging, but if you ride the tide and see where it takes you, you could do things in a different way that will be more positive for your growth and your soul moving forward, right? And this is saying with the south node, don't let your past hold you back. So it's like these changes that could come up, these thought processes that could push you forward, whatever it is that come up around this north node eclipse, and actually the next two eclipses. So this season, the eclipse season, which is basically now through the end of December when we close out the month with another full moon in Cancer, this is really a time of deep, deep reflection and analysis, okay, of where you want your life to go. What path do you want to be on? Who do you want to be on that path with? And who may you have to, or what may you have to kind of vibrate away from, whether it be natural or not. But trust the universe, trust the divine order right now, because again, that's Neptune, right? Spirituality, soul. Trust the divine order of the way that things are going. Trust the divine order of what is presented to you. And also trust the divine order of surrender and release, because these are things that are going to keep coming up again and again and again over these next few weeks with these eclipses. And the more sensitive you are to the energy, the more you're going to feel this. And again, it could be in one area of your life, it could be in various areas of your life, or you could be experiencing it through that of another, through the eyes of another, okay? But either way, eclipses do produce things that have been hidden can tend to come to light. There's an illumination that happens around these times. And again, it could even just be a mindset. It doesn't have to be something literal. It could be just the mindset. And that alone sometimes can just shift the energy in such a huge positive way. It can move mountains. It can help you in such big ways. So don't be closed-minded. And remember, when Uranus is in the mix, which it is, it's a wild card. So this whole time is like a wild card, but it could be a beautiful wild card, and things can work out in the best way imaginable for you and for those that you love under eclipse energy as well. But the beauty is in the unknown and the unseen right now, and just paying all that you can do for yourself. The best thing you can do for yourself is to keep up with your self-care. Make sure that you're right, okay? That you're right in here. If you need to clear things up with people in your life, if you need to have hard conversations, if you need to clear the air, if you need to make amends, now is a time where you're going to probably really feel the pull to do so. But I also want to mention with Neptune, smoke and mirrors, okay? Remember that. So there's lots of projection that happens with Neptune. So be mindful of that. If you feel like you're doing your work, your personal soul work, which only you will know, okay? If you're doing your work and you feel like you keep getting pulled into the madness and the craziness of somebody or of a group or whatever, but you feel like it's not feeling right to you anymore, you have to trust that. You have to trust your inner guidance. You have to trust your higher self to pull yourself out of that situation in the most loving way possible for you. And making sure that you're not projecting your own belief system onto others, okay? But also at the same time being very conscious and mindful where others are projecting onto you, right? Because people can only meet you at the level they've done their own work, right? So I'm saying this goes on both sides, right? I'm sure everybody projects at points because we assume sometimes, right, what others are thinking and feeling. And in actuality, it's not correct. It's just an insecurity within us that's projecting that onto the other person. And moons project light and dark, okay? Neptune projects illusions, delusions, and fantasies. Neptune can also give us beauty. So again, there's a mixed bag. So the more you stay here in your center, okay, a little isolation leads to illumination, okay? That's huge. A little isolation leads to illumination. Many of you may be finding a lot of solace and peace by being alone right now, and that's okay. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because you know what's good for you. I really hope this helps, guys. Take really good care of yourselves. Sending lots of love. Make sure you're grounding, drinking your water, watching the vices, exercising, even lightly, just keeping yourself as up as you possibly can, because these next 6 to 8 weeks could feel intense. But again, not necessarily bad intense, so don't take it that way. It's not doom and gloom. There's lots shifting and shaking, and you can get some really positive openings in your life if you use this time constructively. Take really good care of yourselves, guys. My links are below, lisasalvatore.com.